I'm super excited to share this book with you today. It's called Each Kindness, and it's written by Jacqueline Woodson, it's the author, and the illustrator is E.B. Lewis. Does anyone, just a reminder for the class, who remembers the difference between the author and the illustrator when they make the book? What are their roles? Yes.
The author drew the pictures.
Close. Someone did draw the pictures and someone else wrote the book. Does anyone remember who did which?
I forgot, the author wrote the book.
Yes. And that means the illustrator drew the pictures. And when you see the title of this and see this picture, Each Kindness, I want you to turn to a neighbor and share what is your prediction about what the story might be about?
I think it's going to be about kindness.
Yeah, I think it's about that girl.
That girl. I think there's going to be a lot of kindness in the book.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's about that girl showing different ways to be kind to people.
Like maybe she's the kindest one in the class.
Maybe.
Those are really good predictions. We're going to read the book and see what happens. Each kindness. That winter, snow fell on everything, turning the world a brilliant white. One morning, as we settled into our seats, the classroom door opened and the principal came in. She had a girl with her, and she said to us, "This is Maya." Maya looked down at the floor. I think I heard her whisper, "Hello." We all stared at her. Her coat was open and the clothes beneath it looked old and ragged. Her shoes were spring shoes, not meant for the snow. A strap on one of them had been broken. Our teacher, Miss Albert, said, "Say good morning to our new student." But most of us were silent. The only empty seat was next to me. That's where our teacher put Maya. And on that first day, Maya turned to me and smiled. But I didn't smile back. I moved my chair, myself, and my books a little farther away from her. When she looked my way, I turned to the window and stared out at the snow. And every day after that, when Maya came into the classroom, I looked away and didn't smile back. My best friends that year were Kendra and Sophie. At lunchtime, we walked around the schoolyard, our fingers laced together, whispering secrets into each other's ears. One day, while we were near the slide, Maya came over to us. She held open her hand to show us the shiny Jackson tiny red ball she'd gotten for her birthday. "It's a high bouncer," she said, but none of us wanted to play. So Maya played a game against herself. That afternoon, when we got back into the classroom, Maya whispered to me, "Bet you can't guess who the new Jax champion of the world is." Behind me, Andrew whispered, "Chloe's got a new friend, Chloe's got a new friend." "She's not my friend," I whispered back. The weeks passed. Every day we whispered about Maya, laughing at her clothes, her shoes, the strange food she brought for lunch. Sundays, Maya held out her hand to show us what she had brought to school. A deck of cards, pickup sticks, a small tattered doll. Whenever she asked us to play, we said no. The days grew warmer and warmer. The pond thawed. Grass began growing where snow had once been. One day, Maya came to school wearing a pretty dress and fancy shoes. But the shoes and the dress looked like they belonged to another girl before Maya. "I have a new name for her," Kendra whispered. "Never knew. Everything she has comes from a secondhand store." We all laughed. Maya stood by the fence. She was holding a jump rope but did not come over to us to ask if we wanted to play. After a while, she folded it double, rolled the ends around each hand, and started jumping. She jumped around the whole schoolyard without stopping. She didn't look up once, just jumped, jumped, jumped. The next day, Maya's seat was empty. In class that morning, we were talking about kindness. Miss Albert had brought a big bowl into class and filled it with water. We all gathered around her desk and watched her drop a small stone into it. Tiny waves rippled out away from the stone. "This is what kindness does," Miss Albert said. "Each little thing we do goes out like a ripple into the world." Then Miss Albert let us each drop the stone in as we told her what kind things we had done. Joseph had held the door for his grandmother. Kendra helped change her baby brother's diaper. Even mean old Andrew had done something. "I carried teacher's books up the stairs," he said, and Miss Albert said it was true. I stood there, holding Miss Albert's rock in my hand, silent. "Even small things count," Miss Albert said gently, but I couldn't think of anything and passed the stone on. Maya didn't come to school the next day, or the day after that. Each morning, I walked to school slowly, hoping this would be the day Maya returned and she'd look at me and smile. I promised myself that this would be the day I smiled back. "Each kindness," Miss Albert had said, "makes the whole world a little bit better." But Maya's seat remained empty, and one day, Miss Albert announced to the class that Maya wouldn't be coming back. Her family had to move away, Miss Albert said. Then she told us to take out our notebooks. It was time for spelling. That afternoon, I walked home alone. When I reached the pond, my throat filled with all the things I wished I would have said to Maya, each kindness I had never shown. I threw small stones into it over and over, watching the way the water rippled out and away, like each kindness, done and not done, like every girl somewhere holding a small gift out to someone and that someone turning away from it. I watched the water ripple as the sun set through the maples, and the chance of a kindness with Maya became more and more forever gone. I don't know about you guys, but when I read that story, there's a lot of feelings that I experience, and sometimes the best way for me is to talk about those. So would anyone else like to take a moment to talk about this book for a little bit? Yeah, let's all circle up and make sure you are in a spot where you can see everybody's face of every speaker. And when we do a book talk, remember, you don't have to raise your hand if you want to share something, but just make sure you wait until the next person before you is done speaking. And make sure you always turn and you're looking at a person that shows respect for what they're saying. So does anyone want to start out with just some feelings about this book? What are your thoughts in your head right now? What are you noticing? What are you wondering?
I'm really sad after listening to that story. I didn't expect it to be like that, and it's just so sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it made me feel sad also. I didn't expect it either, and I kept waiting for a part in the book where maybe the girls would be kind to Maya, and we'd see some kindness given to the other, from the other kids to Maya.
Mm-hmm.
But they just kept getting meaner, it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
And then it seemed like there was some regret on the one girl's part that if she had to do it over again, she would have done things differently.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like she felt really bad that she had acted so mean, especially after the teacher talked to them about kindness and how it can really make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with what you guys were saying, and kind of what you said too about how the title, Each Kindness, it makes you think that the book is going to be about showing kindness, but that isn't really what happened.
So in a way, it's like, it's about kindness that can be shown or not shown, and what the effect of that would be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think as I was listening to the story, it made me think about times in my life where I could have maybe shown a little bit more kindness to people. So maybe the author was trying to get people to reflect about themselves and about times maybe where they and not been as kind as they could have been.
I like that idea that you're starting. Did anyone else start to think about maybe what the author was wanting us to think about in our own life?
I agree with what you said, and I feel like it was just such a sad book that if you haven't been kind, it will make you want to be kind, because you start to think about how other people are feeling.
Yeah, I kind of thought that too, that maybe was part of the intent from the author to get us to think about going forward into the future about ways maybe we can demonstrate more kindness to people when we have the chance to.
And it seemed like Maya, she maybe wanted to be kind, but then she was just too worried about what her friends were going to think about her if she was kind to someone who was new and different from them.
Why do you think they didn't want to be nice to her?
Yeah, that's a good question. Did anyone notice anything at the beginning of the story that maybe was a clue or something, maybe why?
And they talked about how her clothes were different from them, and how she was wearing sandals even though it was winter.
It made me feel bad for her because I feel like she was poor.
How did you notice in the story that she was poor? How did you know that?
Because of how they described her clothes, and then they said that they came up with a new name for her called Nothing New.
And they said the toys she brought, like one of the dolls was like tattered and old.
It made me feel sad for her, like she didn't have as nice of things as other people, and she was just trying to fit in.
But do you think that that is a reason for people to not be kind to her?
No, they still should have been kind to her, especially because she was new and she probably didn't know anyone. That's an extra reason to be kind.
And an extra reason to be kind if she might need things or not have as nice of things. Like, she can't help that. It doesn't change who she is, really. She's still a person that just wanted a friend.
Yeah. Yeah, did you guys notice how in the story, the new girl, she kept trying to reach out and make friends with them? And it seemed like they, like you said earlier, Holly, they kept turning her away and not wanting to be friends with her.
And that girl, her face, like it looked like she looked like sad. Like I don't think she ever showed her smiling. But I think she might have felt bad the whole time, like when she wasn't being kind. But I think she was just really too scared to be kind because she was worried that her other friends wouldn't like her anymore if she made a new friend.
Yeah, it's hard when you're the new kid moving in because the other kids already kind of have established friendships and that kind of thing, and so it's difficult on a new kid to break into those new circles of friends.
And it's sad because then she had to move away, and then it makes me wonder if she had to move a lot, and so if she was always moving, if she ever had any friends.
Or maybe if the parents just decide to move away because they realized it wasn't working out for their daughter in this particular situation, they want to give her another start. It does leave you with questions about maybe why they moved.
Does anyone wish the book had ended differently?
Yes.
Yeah. I wanted her to be kind at the end, especially after they learned about kindness in school. I thought maybe she'd come back and they would like have another chance to be kind to her.
I kept thinking she was gonna get a chance, like every single day. I don't like the ending at all.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping, that maybe Maya was just maybe sick for a couple days, and then when she came back to school, then you would get to see how maybe some of the other kids had changed and they started being kind to her, and it would have been maybe a little bit more of a happy ending, so to speak.
So after reading this book and thinking about our class, it seems like we all don't want to be like Chloe in the story, right? So what are ways that you feel like you could show kindness? Say maybe we are going to get a new kid in our class next week. What are things that you could do to show kindness to them?
Like if you had a new student in your class, you could like say hi to them and smile at them even and tell them your name and try to be friends with them and ask them to play with you.
you could share your toys with them. Like if you're at recess and you brought something to play with, you could share it.
Yeah, I agree with those things, and then as you introduce yourself to them, you maybe can introduce some of your friends to them also, so they get to know some other people in the class.
And make sure they're not alone.
Yeah, I was just thinking that like there could be people in our own class who feel lonely and maybe they just don't know what to do about it.
Even if they're not new.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thought. Because are we only allowed to have a specific number of friends?
No.
No. And I noticed that this girl, Chloe, in this story, it seemed like she kept talking about her 2 friends that she had, and those are her only 2. But you can have more than 2 friends, right?
And she looks sad there. I thought that was gonna be. At first, I was thinking that the girl on the cover was the new girl, but that's not. That is Chloe, who wasn't nice to her. You know.
Yeah.
I had to think about that for a minute because I was thinking, wait, that's not the new girl. That's a girl who supposedly has friends, and she doesn't look very happy there.
That's a good idea too. Do you think that? How do you think showing kindness to other people will make you feel when you do it? Because Holly just brought up a point that she didn't show kindness and she seemed sad.
I think if you don't show kindness to people, well, some people just seem mean and like they don't show kindness on purpose. But I think that Chloe actually really felt bad because she realized that she should have. So she definitely learned. So I don't think she would do that again. Like I think if there's another new student, she would try to be nice.
And I think when you do show acts of kindness to people and when you're nice to people, it makes you feel good about yourself.
It just makes you happy inside because either you're being nice to someone, so you might make a new friend, or you're being nice to someone, which is better than being mean when you, and because then like eventually you start to feel bad if you've been mean to someone.
Yeah. What character from the story do you guys feel like you have felt like in your life? Has anyone ever felt like Maya or the new girl, or have you, someone talked about this earlier, maybe felt like there were times you didn't show kindness to people?
No, I felt like the new girl on several occasions just because we moved around a lot when I was a kid.
Did that make you sad to move?
Yeah, I mean, it makes you sad to move, you know, and so I can identify. I mean, I don't know that kids were necessarily mean to me, but it does make it more difficult to fit in when you have to kind of create the whole getting to know people and trying to establish new friendships. That
Do you
makes it
feel left
difficult.
out when you move?
Yeah.
I didn't have to move a lot, but there have been times when I felt left out.
Yeah, I think there have been times where all of us have felt left out before, right? And so I think as a class we've talked about really good ways that we're going to be able to continue to show kindness to other people, right? I don't want this to be a story we read one time and then forget about. That's what books can teach us, is different ways that we can live our lives in better ways and continue to grow. So I think you guys did a really great job discussing today. Any other ideas that you want to share before we wrap this up?
I think we should try to have a kindness, take a kindness pledge, and that we're going to be a kind class.
That's a really good idea. Do you have a pledge that you want us to do that you've been thinking about?
We can just like promise to be kind, and we could have like a little like secret, like we could hold our finger up or something like that.
Yeah, let's think about that the rest of the day, and then at the end of class end of the school day before we leave, maybe we have some ideas that we all want to contribute to that idea of being kind.
It could be like a reminder to be kind.
That's a really good idea. All right, great job, guys.